understand to a point. Does that make sense? Like, I understand why you would be doing that because you're having somebody live in your space, but at the same time, back in the day, so like when my grandparents traveled, my grandma told me that she went to California on like $500. That's to California from Wisconsin. And she literally drove, like, I guess from my understanding, she packed up the kids. They had a hole in their, they had like a Ford wagon or something like that, like the holiday travel car, and there was literally a hole. She's like, you could literally see the ground, and we still drove to California. I believe it was California. I'm not sure exactly. I have to maybe ask Aunt Gina of where she went, but it was somewhere out west. And to sit there and that gives me hope because there's things that go wrong. Mind you, if something happened to the truck coming here, then I would have been fucked over. But thankfully it didn't. Let's knock on wood. Let's hope everything else goes smoothly and me get back down to Georgia in a smooth place. We have to make things work. People may think I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and I am. I will admit that 110% because I'm going to think outside the box when it comes to doing stuff. I'm not going to sit there and see, you know, this is how it's supposed to be because this is how somebody else did it. That's not what I am. I'm sitting there thinking in my head like a calculation of, okay, if I have to get here to here, how much is that going to take? What's the minimum thing I can pay to get to point A to point B? That is how I work. And I have done it multiple times over the past 3 years. It has not been easy. I have slept on floors. I have slept in closets. I have slept in trucks. I have eaten canned food. I mean, for me to get to point A to point B, to get my mission out there, to be able to find peace, to even be able to get different inspiration and see a different area has not been easy. But in the long run, when I look back, I don't regret it. The times I do regret is me not taking it. And that is the thing that I want us to talk about as a traveler. I want us to realize that because traveling has become such a big business, it's become such corporate greed. I hate to say it that it's been greedy because it's not all corporations, it's a little person too. It's greedy. AK RVing and spots in the RV world. I mean, I cannot go anywhere without having to pay over $500 for a spot for a month, which is stupid. For a cement. You know what I mean? Like it's taken a lot. Sorry, Oliver just went outside. But it's taken a lot to sit there and say, okay, how do I get to point A to point B? How do I live? How do I breathe? And how do I sit there and make things happen that I need to be happen? Now, keep in mind, I'm not only just a traveler, I'm doing stuff for humanity. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not doing this for fun. It is fun. It's fun to talk to bikers. It's fun to go to rallies. But I'm doing this because there's a bigger picture there. So how do I get, to point A to point B to make it work? But how do I inspire you travelers that don't have a nonprofit, that just want to travel to do things? That is the goal that I'm having through my podcast. That's the goal every single week, that I want to inspire you to sit there and say, boy, Katie really fucked up that, but she did it. You know, it takes a lot for us to sit there and travel. It takes a lot for us to grow and do what we have to do to make a difference. Maybe next week I'll have my son on and we'll talk about him traveling too, because he's a 10-year-old traveling. He homeschools on the road. We did school in the truck. He has his tablet. There's times he has to use his workbooks. We'll put a little thing on his lap for him, for a sturdy thing, and he'll do his workbooks in the car. And I'll sit there as I'm driving, talk about school. We have Google at our fingertips where we'll use Google, press a little button, say, hey, how do you spell this? Or how do you do this? We don't live a typical society life anymore, and I'm grateful for it. To sit there and say, oh, you have to be in a desk to graduate, or you have to do this to succeed, is false. And that's maybe it is for you to succeed, but it isn't for me. And it isn't for my son or my family or anyone else. And that is where, when it comes to people being different, like a lot of homeschoolers out on the road, there's homeschoolers that have been around for ages. A lot of actors and actresses are homeschooled. It's fascinating to sit there and how people judge the typical normal person instead of somebody that makes millions or somebody that travels differently. I am giving you the opposition of saying, hey, take a step back. Are you happy with your life? If you're not, then sit there and say, how can I make myself happy? And then in your head, I always think of that meme where she's calculating with all those calculations on it. That's me right there, like 110% all the time. I'm always trying to calculate of how I can get to point A to point B, or how do I succeed to doing this? Or if I can't succeed at that, how am I going to get close to it? And nothing is ever in a textbook. It's living life is how you survive it. And I don't know what else to express it. Like, you have to figure out your own calculation. You have to figure out your own way of living. Number one, stop reflecting off of each other, because you all have different paths. You all have different your own. I always see it as you have different eyes. You see things differently. You have different perceptions. Stop reflecting your own insecurities and your stuff onto each other. That would actually help a lot, not only in the biker community, but in homeschooling as well. Because people reflect all the time onto the bikers and homeschooling. It's fascinating. Oh, well, they live differently. Oh, we shouldn't, oh, they wear leather, like stigmas. Oh, homeschooling. Oh, well, your son's not learning. Well, yes, he is. He's learning a whole lot. He's very intelligent. He asks a lot of questions. Just to forewarn everyone, you spend some time with him, he's going to ask you a million and one questions. But they're good questions, and they're going to make you think. So to sit there and say they're not learning is false. Now, mind you, when he decides to decide how he's going to live his life when he's older, is he going to go to trade school? Because I'm very adamant of breaking the college cycle, because I was one that probably shouldn't have went to college, and I'm in debt for it, and I'm mad about it. It was my own I was 18 though. I was an adult, but I had a lot of influence coming in on me. And so I'm giving him options. Okay, hey, do you want to do trade school? Do you want to be an apprenticeship? Do you want to do college? Do you want to take backpacking and do a blog? There's a lot of things that you can think outside the box to make things work and to live. And that is the thing when it comes to travelers, is that a lot of us travelers, and there's a lot of us that I've talked to, kind of think similar ways, is that it's not all cookie cutter. Life is not always perfect. It's amazing how I stayed at an RV park back in North Carolina a couple months ago. And the entire RV park was full of construction workers and traveling nurses. And then there was a preacher. The preacher is there for good. He took over the reins of the other preacher because they have a church on grounds. But it's fascinating to sit there and listen and hear about the different types of workers that have families, that have kids in the RV, that they travel from point A to point B and the kids get to see it and they homeschool. There's nothing wrong with that. And for some reason, there is a peanut gallery with a lot of loud voices that want to control what you do, and that's not okay. And I'm hoping that we can stop that. I'm praying that over time with this dialogue that their voices become squished. I mean, not squished, because they should have voices, but at the same time, they shouldn't influence anything. Because again, that's their life, not yours. That is the key, is to sit there and mute within yourself. Muting that, they're going to still talk. They're going to still have voices. They're going to still be in your face of saying, oh, you can't travel with this amount of money, or oh, you can't do this because of this, or oh, you shouldn't homeschool because my son's not homeschooled. A lot of it has to do with themselves, is what I see now. Like when they talk to me and I hear it, I look at them and say, okay, why are you feeling this way? Do you pay my bills? And are you upset that you weren't homeschooled? See how I twisted back? I twisted back to them. I get it all the time on traveling, and a lot of people are just curious. They just are curious about it, and I love that. I'd rather have you be curious than be a dictator. There's a difference there. And it's so important to express that no travel's perfect, aka Wisconsin. It's amazing of how when things don't go your way, how people want to shut you down. It's a fascinating of saying, oh, I may not be able to afford this. Oh, you shouldn't go then. Well, no, I should still go, but we're going to make things work. And my goal through this podcast is I want you guys to step back and say, you know what? I'm going to see things differently. I want to sit there and say, you know what? I'm not going to just shut up. We're all or nothing. For the longest time, I thought it was just my mom. And then I took it as well because I saw her doing it too. And I realized it's not. It's a lot of society where they're just, I guess maybe somebody hurt you growing up, or some people were hurt, and people put you in a box and you couldn't get out of that box. It's a freeing when you literally take away the box. Like literally, they're putting you in that box. You don't have to stay in that box. You have a choice to let them build their own boxes and just move away. You build your own adventure. You build your own boxes. And to be honest with you, I don't even like building boxes. I like building trains. You know what I mean? Like I like building connections instead of a box to sit there and define me. And when I say boxes, it's about defining. It's about having people reflect off each other and defining what you need to do with your life and defining how you're supposed to live. And that's not fair to you. You have to break it. And it's taken me years. I'm finally 36, and I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self that you just need to get away from their boxes. Break it. Rip it apart, throw it away, and live your life. You don't have to sit there and be this cookie cutter, picture perfect, how everyone wants you to live, because it's not their life, it's your life. And traveling, making things work is not easy. It's actually extremely hard. And aka this trip. And I'm so grateful to be here. I'm sitting here at this kitchen table going, we got it. We did it. And I'm looking outside and it's peaceful. I just saw a hummingbird outside. And my dog is sleeping at the door. And my son's probably watching a movie or playing a game. He's playing a game. It's up to us to sit there and take a step back. I would love to be able to have different people that live differently on the podcast. If you're interested, you can always email me. It's I think it's a differentmanypaths@gmail.com. And I can also put that on the website for you to email. I want us to think outside the box. I want you to see different people living and hey, this is like, it would be awesome to have somebody talk about a hardship you had on a travel, of how you were able to get point at B when things were breaking around you and finances were weren't, even though it is your fault, my fault to take all your bills out at once, but you got to make it work. And you got to find the humor in it. You're like, oh man, well, thank goodness I'm alive. I have groceries for a week. I'm good. The truck is a full tank of gas. We're going to leave it up there and keep it there for emergency purposes. We have a whole lake behind us. If a biker wants to come meet me, we can go meet down at the pub. It's the things. I have some stuff to sell. I could probably get some money with selling some stuff. We have to sit there and think outside the box. Instead of having a house that's stationary, that's stuck in the ground, our house has wheels on it. Now, mind you, it's freaking expensive. Just travel RVing now. Because I guess everyone saw everyone doing it, and now they're all doing it because people are tired of living in the box. And I don't blame them. I don't blame 110% why people do it. I sit there and say, good for you. You do it. Now, mind you, you have those fancy RVers on the roads that are like all the bells and whistles, and you if you feel like you have to take your modern conveniences with you, I mean, we take our modern conveniences. We have internet, a TV, and a computer. That's really all the modern conveniences we really need. An air fryer, you guys. Everyone needs an air fryer. Yeah. You know, and it's just a matter of you